Chapter 5. Once they saw John leave with the raven in the night, Amasa, Rowan, and Kofi knew they should head to Letha's cabin down in Forge to help with Arthur's body. They rose a little earlier than usual to find King already hitching up the horses. All four took the logging sled down into town, while the orange-tinged clouds still held onto the morning, before the sky returned to the usual overcast gray. Amasa, with his blue eyes and silver hair, looked a healthy and dignified 50, though his stories came from much older times. Rowan was as Irish as they come, with the bright red, full beard and easy wit of youth. Kofi spoke English with his native Nigerian accent, his inner strength carved out of the same black granite as his physique. He and Rowan loved each other like brothers, and they fought like brothers too. King's gift for horses was given to him by his Mongolian ancestors, though they were a world and many lifetimes away. Letha appeared in the doorway of the cabin just as they arrived, and soon all the men joined her for a moment of respectful silence at Arthur's bedside. Arthur had left his body only a few hours before, and in death looked smaller and more frail than any of them remembered. King broke the solemn moment with a small bow, then stepped out to go ready the sled. They'd be moving Arthur to the vault until it was time for the fire. Amasa turned to Letha. "Everything went as it should?" "So far," she replied. "Course we'll have to see who John comes back with." "Let's hope there's no surprises," Amasa added. Rowan gave Letha a quick look up and down. "Looks like you made it through all right, eh, ma'am?" he asked. He knew she was in the middle of one of her most important spells. "A bit more aches in my bones, but Arthur was always a headache, so it's hard to tell if this is any worse." Rowan put his hand on her shoulder, and they shared a smile. "Let's hope the next one's a little less headache then," he said. Kofi and Rowan carefully wrapped Arthur's body in blankets from the bed, and were surprised to find him already as stiff as one of the timbers he'd cut in years past. "I got him," announced Rowan. "Do you?" replied Kofi. "Careful now." "Course I'm careful. It's Arthur, for Christ's sake. Step back." Kofi put his hands up and stepped back. Rowan picked up Arthur's stiff, unbending body and tried to balance him on his shoulder like a log. As he turned to exit, Kofi and Amasa both ducked just in time to avoid being hit by Arthur's feet. Instead of their heads, Arthur's feet smashed into the mantel above the fireplace, knocking over the jar with the raven's feather. Somehow it stayed intact, but the cork toppled off and the feather ended up half in and half out of the bottle on the ground. "Oh dear," remarked Letha. "Watch it." "What the hell are you doing, man?" fired off Kofi. "I'm trying to get the bastard out of here," shot back Rowan. "Well, get him out of here then. Stop dancing with him, for God's sake." Rowan clumsily made it to the door of the cabin and kicked it open. In his embarrassed rush to exit, the door bounced back on Arthur's head with a whack. "Damn it," Rowan said under his breath. The door hit Arthur's legs and finally shut behind him as Letha tried, and failed, to stifle a laugh at their irreverence of it all. Kofi grabbed new blankets from the foot of the bed and offered an apology on behalf of Rowan. "I swear. I'm sorry, Letha." No worries. None at all. He's already gone. That's just the shell." Kofi gave a laugh of understanding as he and Amasa finished making up the bed, tucking the sheets just right. "That should do it, dear." Kofi turned to Letha and gave her a gentle but meaningful hug. Letha looked up at Kofi from her old, hunched posture. She placed a hand on his chest and paused for just a moment as she looked at him with a pride that only the aged have earned. "Ah, Kofi," she said, "you always were my favorite." Kofi's smile could brighten even the darkest rooms. "And you mine, dear," he whispered back at her as he took her hand and gave it a light kiss. He made a gratuitous bow as he stepped backwards toward the door. "Ah, stop it," Letha rolled her eyes. "Never!" Kofi stood with a wink and stepped outside. Only Amasa was left. He was picking up the jar and carefully placing the feather back inside. He slid the cork in just so before setting it back in its place on the mantel. He turned to Letha. "You planning to go with Arthur, or will you stay?" he asked her frankly. "I'll stay for now." Alma seems to be brewing a girl. I should stay until at least then. Perhaps the new moon will bring the magic of a new baby. And if it doesn't? Or if John doesn't return in time? A bit of concern tinged Amos's voice. One thing at a time, Amosa. Letha took a breath. I'm not the only one that can feel it then, am I? I feel it too, Amosa replied. Arthur's passing. Things are shifting. It feels like there is more change on the way, though what it is or where it's coming from, I cannot tell. We'll all know soon enough. We'll just have to trust the timing. Letha went quiet. She looked wistfully into the air, like she was lost in thought or in a time long past. Amosa? She finally said. Ma'am? Amosa replied. Bring a long saw out to the vault with you. It'll be time to fell the tree. Amosa looked to the ground. He knew what Letha was saying, and he knew that she was right, but he still didn't like what he and the other Jacks had to do. At last he nodded, then held out his arms to her. Letha took the invitation and embraced him. See you soon, Amosa said. He opened the door to take his leave, letting in the sounds from outside. Letha heard the boys on the wagon. Rowan's vocal protests were loud and clear. You're her favorite! Letha's smile was genuine. Even with the solemn atmosphere, it was fun to tease the boys. Trouble to the end, Amosa said with a smirk, shaking his head. Letha's eye twinkled. To the end. Amosa stepped out into the cold of the morning. Letha made a gesture with her staff, and the door to the cabin closed.